Hey folks, welcome to another Storytime with Max. If you don't know me, I am Max Porter, writer, editor, lore keeper, board game designer, stream runner, story reader, various other things here at City State Entertainment. By the way, I have turned off the autofocus on the camera again. Let's see if it works for you folks. Hopefully you can hear and see me. I'm going to wait a second for confirmation of that. Can you hear me? Let's see. It says it's online. Oh look, someone said yes on YouTube. Can someone on Twitch say yes too? Just so that I don't think I'm talking to myself here. Okay, Laudoween sees me. Good. Excellent. Alright, so it is time for me to finish off the Great Depths raid. Last week I read for you on stream the first half of part 12, which is the last part of the Great Depths raid. But it's a little long, so I stopped in the middle. Going to finish it this time. And then next time maybe I can read that Pict story that came out in the newsletter this month, or last month. Last time, if you've been following along the adventures, you'll know that our Delvers have had one of their number, Hiduk, the Ketchi, be corrupted by the depths, and he has become a horrific monster, part cat, part scorpion, and all evil, monstrous eyes and mouths and claws. Hello. I was so still you thought the video was frozen. Cool. Hiduk attacked the other Delvers. They fought him off, though not without taking some severe injuries. And he is now hunting them from the Veil, which he has opened to escape from them and to resume stalking them with all those advantages. So, the Delvers, the rest of the Delvers, continued on through the tilted maze and have reached, are about to reach, the base of the tower in the center, which has a spiraling staircase leading up and out. So, without further ado, the Great Depths raid, the tilted maze, and the tower, part 2 of part 12. Wary, tense, wincing at their wounds, the Delvers reached the base of the tower, staying away from the shadows that spilled out to one side. There was clearly something odd, something wrong with the architecture, especially close up. The square doorway and the randomly placed windows weren't quite square after all, and seemed to stand straight up, even though the tower leaned at such a crazy angle over the tilted maze. Above the entrance, there were words inscribed in a baffling language. Fagja motioned Jorvald over, then wiped her hand with the ichor that still dripped from his axe blade. Stretching up with her giant's height, she smeared the dark liquid over the stone-carved characters. As she expected, they bubbled and shifted beneath the blood until the script changed to something readable. The Delvers frowned and glanced at one another before quickly hurrying beneath the strange words and into the tower. The blood script now read, "What do you hope to gain from your life, your existence, your knowledge, your understanding? You must consume in order to gain. You must ingest in order to live." Within the tower, there was a wide, awkwardly angled stairwell. Nothing else appeared to have been built. There were no landings, no living quarters, no apparent purpose to this place, besides the tall stone stairs. Unless one counted the periodic windows, apparently made just to stare out into the dull brown light that seemed to go on forever in all directions, or to survey the labyrinth below. At each window there was a hook, tied with a number of shadowy streamers, hanging almost down to the ground like shrouds of long-forgotten dead. An ominous presence filled the air inside the tower, layering over every surface like an invisible blanket of hungry dust. "It is the will of the depths," whispered Donnie, jumping onto the first stone slab, as brown as the light outside. "It doesn't want us to leave." As they climbed the steps of the tower, panting and bleeding, as wounds reopened with the efforts, each of the Delvers was prompted to a flash of memory. It was difficult to tell where it had come from, this power of remembrance. But, like the oppressive atmosphere, it was inescapable. They remembered the man, the merchant that had come to them long ago. Something he had said had hooked them, pulled them to this place, and it would take all they had to escape. Below, Hiduk hunted, following the trails they had left him. He came to the shadowed side of the leaning tower, where the black streams of shadow hung down from the strange windows. "I need to feel something. I am all alone," said Hiduk to himself, in his mind, in the veil. And so he reached out to touch something, and in touching, tried to destroy it. His closest companions, ones he had recruited to gain glory in this place, that the wise old merchant had so pleasantly suggested to him long ago. The Delvers were more than halfway up the tower when the servant of the depths caught up to them. Fagja was in the lead, her long legs making quick work of the broad steps. Sacrifisto followed her closely, while Donnie and Zedric were in the middle of the line, with Jorvald bringing up the rear. In the dull brown light, the Dverger's eyes caught a shadow at the window. Jorvald reacted instantly, hurling up the steps and throwing himself in front of the healer and mage as a long black stinger burst in, its deadly arc descending. He tried to take the blow on his stones or even his axe, but there was only an eye-blink's time to move in. Zedric threw up an arm and fell back shouting, while Donnie immediately jumped, making it up 5 steps in one bound. They both narrowly avoided the spray of blood and poison that painted the wall and floor. Jorvald still stood, snarling even as he wobbled. For a moment, everything was still, but for the droplets falling down his face. Then the stinger ripped out of his eye in another stream of blood, as Hiduk chuckled in triumph and swung back on the dark vine of shadow his claws held onto, ready to plunge in for the final blow. Fagja, at the next oddly shaped window further up the stairs, heard Hiduk's chuckle outside the tower and rushed to the opening to see what had happened, holding the edge of the wall to stop herself tumbling out. She could see Hiduk swinging, his great black form with too many arachnid limbs like a spider on its web. He was hanging on one of the streamers of shadow that attached to this very windowsill, spilling out like a black rope. Without hesitation, she put aside her hammer and plunged her hands into the stuff. It was surprisingly solid, and felt like something slightly elastic, tied to a hook in the wall. Hiduk swung out, then back in, rushing claws opening wide to rip out Yorvald's throat. He cackled, his delight echoing through the tower and the passages below. It was so amusing, the sight of the Deverger still standing and gripping his axe, grimly defending the other Delvers as he watched oncoming death through one good eye. Nervous fingers fumbling, sweaty, she finally managed to undo the knot, and the thing dropped away. The rope slapped and zipped across the stone, pulled down by the great weight of the creature that clutched it. Shrieking and yowling all the way, Hiduk fell, landing on the hard floor of the labyrinth below the tower with a tremendous crack and a splintering explosion of shadows that mostly hid him from view. His shrieking and thrashing continued, but whether these were his death throes or an attempt to climb the tower again, it was hard to tell. "Come on," Sacrifisto shouted, pouring the last of his healing arts into the Deverger to clear the poison from the gap in his skull. "Let's climb, climb, climb." Yorvald turned, touching the leaking hole where his eye had been. Can you heal it?" As they pounded up the stairs, legs aching, Sacrifisto snorted. "No. But if my magic works and the poison doesn't kill you, you'll have quite a scar." Yorvald grinned, showing his new gap tooth as they pushed into the open, where the stairwell continued into the brown atmosphere, free of the tower, upward and out. "That's good, then." His vision rapidly fading as he lay and twitched upon the ground, Hiduk watched the specks of the Delvers leaving him behind, climbing the tall spiraling stairs that pierced the endless brown above. The depths. He felt the depths reclaim him, to be used and reused forever. The depths wasted nothing, especially not a corrupt soul. He recited the words that were whispered to him, that the merchant had told to him when he left his fellow Delvers to be claimed in his first raid. This is existence. This is sex and gore and death and triumph. This is victory and blessed gifts. Metallic pipes sucked him down, making him one with the very fabric of this place. He licked his dry, bloodied lips and spoke on until there was nothing left. Slowly my skin begins to melt off my body. My eyes weep tears that burn my exposed flesh, and where they fall upon the ground, there spawn wriggling, blind things, hungry for suffering. The black shell that protects me is thickening, filling with the blood I have spilled. The whispers that chased me now abhorrently egg me onward, imprecations and songs of lustful bloodletting. I am of the depths, its servant forever. To all else, an eternal adversary. The rest of the Delvers made good their escape. The stairwell led them to a cave on the edge of the Stormlands, and to true sunlight at last. Donnie jumped for joy. Yorvald coughed with relieved laughter, and even Zedric smiled as the heavy presence and influence of the depths faded from his mind. Blinking in the strong wind, the 5 survivors watched the dark crevice where they had emerged quickly disappear in layers of blown sand. No one made an effort to try and mark the place. They had come out on a hill of loose sand and scree, and in most directions there was nothing but the blasted landscape of the Stormlands, constantly torn apart by veilstorms. However, on the horizon, There was a clear green and blue line, marking the start of more habitable lands and the realms that were their homes. Zedric was the first to break the silence. Well, we lived, despite Hiduk's betrayal. Breath of the Frost Dragon, we did it! Tossing one of his crowns into the air, Donnie jumped to catch it. And we found our rewards. At least, I found mine. Yorvald gently touched the open wound where his eye had been. Aye, and a wonderful reward it is. He grinned wide, belying his sarcastic statement. Foggia patted the Dvergr on the shoulder with one big blue hand. Now, don't be losing that famous humor of yours. I intend to tell everyone how you helped me discover secrets and destroy a great enemy. So, your glory will live on with mine. Yorvald made an annoyed noise, and the frost giant laughed. The pale Sacrifisto stood solemnly, watching the sand blow, until the last sign of an opening was gone. We learned much, and saw many wonders and horrors. He glanced up at the others. We delved into the depths together, and though we part ways now, we can forever say one thing is true. That it was definitely me who killed the biggest monsters? Yorvald chuckled, wiping down his axe. Sacrifisto smiled back. That we went on a great raid, to the darkest of places, and yet we returned. Zedric nodded. And there are very few who can say that. Examining her punctured, dented, and disheveled armor, Foggia sighed. I just wish we could have learned more about what really happened. With the merchant, and our memories, and why the Kate... Why Hiduk became that thing. Was he planning it all along? I truly don't think so. Zedric looked troubled, frowning at the plumes of dust devils that looked like smoke coming over the hill. He spoke slowly, in his raspy voice. I'd hate to believe a true Arthurian could fall to evil like that, but I think we all felt the corruption seeping into us. Hiduk had been on a raid to the depths before. Something happened then. Something that stuck with him. Some secret taint that made him fall to the corruption first. Donnie shrugged and made a sour face. Or maybe he was just unlucky? I suppose I don't think it needs to be so complicated. The way I see it, we had an adventure. We beat the dangers we could, escaped the ones we couldn't, and got out with whatever we managed to get out with. The Dvergr grunted. Maybe he made a sacrifice. Maybe he paid the price for us. Sacrifisto pointed up at the swirling streaks of dust that Zedric had been staring at. Siroccos, blowing over the crest of the hill they stood upon. There's a storm coming. We have to get moving. With that, he started toward the green horizon, and the others followed. Donnie became a famous storyteller, as well known for his enormous wealth as for his tall tales, not to mention winning every local competition for high jumping. Sacrifisto returned to his people with great knowledge, a scholar and builder of a vast cathedral and hall of learning for the healing arts. Zedric rose to become head of his order, for a period of time, known as one of the greatest and most powerful flame wardens ever to walk the realms. Yorvald took up with a great many ladyfolk, and earned great glory as the one-eyed warrior, while Foggia took up residence in the icy peaks as a sage and keeper of many secrets. The two Vikings often met in years to come, and spent much of their lives debating who truly deserved credit for the demise of the servant. A good-natured debate between friends, and more often than not, one that led to a competition to prove a point. Few of them spoke of the depths, or if they did, it was always to call it a bad place, a wrong place, a place they would never go again. Unless, of course, it was for a very good reason. This concludes the tale of the Great Depths Raid. I hope you have enjoyed. And I will see you anon. Tomorrow we have Morning with Max in the morning. So come say hi, hello, hang out, ask me a few questions. And then we have the end of week wrap up in the afternoon, which is always accompanied by Q&A. So come and ask questions at that. All right. Thanks a lot for listening, and I will see you later.